Hello, welcome to week 3 of EDU 612 or 702. So scrolling down to module 3 is where we'll begin this week. You're going to start thinking about the details of your social studies unit and meeting with your cooperating teacher to plan out that unit and decide and determine which district or state standards you're going to be incorporating into your unit that you'll be targeting, and start thinking about what it is that you really want students to know, to understand, and be able to do by the end of your unit. Start thinking about what will mastery look like? How will you know when students have mastered your concepts? What kinds of things will they say? What will they be able to do, etc. And on the other hand, you're going to want to consider what will it look like when they don't know, so that you can start incorporating these ideas into your unit plan and ultimately into each of your lessons. In your planning stages this week, you'll also want to consider the RESW schedule, consult with your FPF so you can find out the due dates for the intermediate course for the RESW sequence. That will be with your case study student. And then make sure you have a lesson observation date scheduled sometime during your social studies unit. So meet with your cooperating teacher, schedule when your lessons will be implemented, and have your FPF come during one of those lessons to observe you. Then you'll spend some time this week looking at different student-centered approaches to instruction. So you'll think about your social studies unit, and as you begin to draft your lessons, you'll want to think about the specific teaching and pedagogical strategies that you'll want to include to make students the center of your lessons. So you're going to be reading about 3 learning approaches, 3 learning theories, specifically the constructivist theory, project-based learning, and inquiry-based learning. And you'll be writing an essay, 3 pages, APA format, about these 3 theories. So you'll have an introduction, summarize each of the theories, make some connections, and give specific examples about how each of those theories might look in the social studies classroom, so that you can start to think about putting students at the center of the learning where they're driving their own instruction. You're encouraging discourse, student cooperation, and the teacher is more of a facilitator in each of these approaches. It lends itself very well to the social studies classroom, so as you're reading about them and learning about them, think about how this might look in your unit or in other social studies topics in general. So you'll submit a 3-page APA-style format. Please consult the APA resources that we have for you, cover page, header, all of the APA details, resource list, etc. You'll submit that essay about these 3 learning styles this week. Next, you'll begin planning the initial stages of our next large project for this course, which is your research paper. And you'll begin by looking at the topic for our research paper and start by planning your thesis and an outline and annotated bibliography of your paper. So what I'd like you to do is to consider this topic: the legal, ethical, and cultural issues to consider when integrating educational technology in K-12 schools. You might also include discussion about what it means to be a responsible digital citizen and what schools can do to address the issues of online safety. So this is the general topic, and you'll begin by drafting a thesis statement that you can support in your research paper. Next, you will create an outline of the content of your report. So basically, I'd like to see your thesis statement, and under that, I'd like to see a general outline of the content you might include. So introduction, a little note about what you might include there, each paragraph or the body or the meat of your report, what topics you plan to cover, really general format, and then your conclusion. Finally, I'd like you to write an annotated bibliography. Your paper requires 5 minimum sources that are credible sources. So they can't all be online sources. I'd like you to utilize some peer-reviewed journals in your report. And I'd like you to list your possible sources. I realize this might change as you get into the writing of your paper. But list your possible sources in an annotated bibliography. What an annotated bibliography is a list of your sources written in APA format, and then a little blurb underneath that includes a summary of the source, how it relates to your topic, and how you might use it in your paper. So what you would do is you're going to list your 5 sources. So here's an example for you. You'll say Article 1. You'll have the citation of the source written in APA format underneath. And then below that, you'll have your summary of your source. You'll include a little blurb about what the article is about, also how it relates to your thesis, and a little bit about, maybe a sentence or two, about how you plan to use that article in your final paper. So this week you will submit in one document your thesis statement, your outline, and your annotated bibliography. Finally, this week you'll be participating in 2 discussion forums. I'd like you to make a post for each and then reply to your colleagues throughout the week. The first is about integrating the arts into your lessons. So please review the arts standards that are posted up in the course resources for you, and make a discussion post about how you plan to incorporate arts throughout your unit. And then finally, a discussion post about assistive educational technologies. I have some sources for you here to review and read about assistive technology, and then develop and brainstorm a list for me in this discussion forum of assistive technology products that you are familiar with, that you might have access to in your school, that you could incorporate for students in your classroom, in your current classroom, or in potential future classrooms. Okay, it's a heavy workload week as usual with a condensed course, so I encourage you to come up with a good time management plan that works for you and to reach out to me throughout the week if you have any questions or concerns.